Dear sister, what if the pain you are carrying is not proof that Allah has forgotten you, but evidence that He is pulling your heart away from everything that could destroy you? Sometimes Allah strengthens a woman through loss, delay, betrayal, loneliness, and moments when remaining faithful feels almost impossible. The test may be breaking your heart today, but it may also be rebuilding the woman you are becoming. Listen carefully, because these 7 painful tests may reveal what Allah is teaching you through the hardest season of your life, and the final test will determine whether your pain breaks your faith or deepens it. 1. The test of losing someone you never imagined living without. One of the most painful tests a woman can face is losing the person she believed would always remain in her life. You may have built dreams around them, trusted their promises, shared your deepest fears, and imagined a future where their presence felt certain. Then suddenly, through distance, betrayal, separation, or death, everything changes. The heart struggles because it is not only losing a person, it is losing the future it created with them. In that moment, you may ask Allah why He allowed someone so important to leave. You may feel as though part of your identity has disappeared. But sometimes Allah removes a person because your heart has started depending on them more than it depends on Him. Sometimes their departure reveals a strength inside you that comfort never allowed you to discover. This test teaches you that people can be part of your journey without being your final destination. Their absence may break your heart for a season, but it can also return you to prayer, self-respect, wisdom, and emotional independence. Do not chase what Allah has allowed to leave. Trust that what feels like the end of your life may only be the end of one chapter. 2. The test of praying. While Allah remains silent, one of the hardest tests is continuing to pray when nothing around you seems to change. You raise your hands, repeat the same dua, cry in sujood, and ask Allah for relief, yet the door remains closed. Days become months, and your heart begins wondering whether your prayers are being heard. But Allah's silence does not mean His absence. He hears every trembling word, every hidden tear, and every request you cannot fully express. The real test is whether you will continue trusting Him when you cannot see His answer. Sometimes Allah delays what you are asking for because the timing is not right. Sometimes He is protecting you from something that looks beautiful but would eventually wound you. At other times, He is preparing your heart, strengthening your faith, or leading you toward an answer far better than the one you imagined. Dua is not wasted simply because the result has not appeared. Your prayer may be changing circumstances you cannot see, removing harm from your path, or storing a reward for your akhirah. Do not abandon Allah because the answer feels late. Keep praying, but stop demanding that the answer arrive in only one form. Trust Him enough to say, "Oh Allah, give me what is best, even when it is different from what I want." Faith becomes strongest when you continue believing while everything remains uncertain. 3. The test of being betrayed by the person you trusted most. Betrayal becomes unbearable when it comes from the person you trusted with the most fragile parts of your heart. You believed their words, protected their secrets, defended them in front of others, and never imagined they would become the source of your deepest pain. When the truth appears, you do not only question that person, you begin questioning your judgment, your memories, and whether anything between you was ever real. But their betrayal does not mean your sincerity was foolish. It means they failed to value a heart that dealt with them honestly. Allah may allow this painful truth to appear because He does not want you building your future around someone who is secretly destroying your peace. What feels like the collapse of a relationship may actually be the exposure of something that was never safe. The test is not only surviving what they did, it is refusing to let their actions turn you into someone bitter, suspicious, and emotionally closed. Learn from the betrayal, establish stronger boundaries, and stop ignoring patterns simply because you love the person displaying them. Forgiveness does not require giving someone unlimited access to hurt you again. You can release hatred while still walking away. Let this test make you wiser without making you cruel, because losing an untrustworthy person is painful, but losing your pure heart because of them would be an even greater loss. 4. The test of feeling alone when you need support the most. One of the heaviest tests a woman can face is feeling completely alone during the moment she needs someone the most. You may be carrying pain that nobody sees, fighting thoughts you cannot explain, and trying to remain strong for everyone around you, while quietly falling apart inside. You look at your phone hoping someone will ask if you are okay, but no message comes. You wait for the person who once promised to stand beside you, yet they become distant when your life becomes difficult. The people you supported during their darkest days may suddenly become unavailable when darkness reaches your own door. This kind of loneliness hurts because it makes you feel forgotten. You may wonder why Allah allowed your support system to disappear when your heart was already exhausted. You may watch others surrounded by love and companionship while you are forced to face your pain in silence. But sometimes Allah allows people to step back because He is teaching you that human support, no matter how comforting, can never replace complete dependence on Him. People become tired, distracted, selfish, or unable to understand what you are carrying, but Allah never becomes unaware of your condition. This test reveals where your heart runs when nobody answers. Will you destroy yourself searching for attention from people who do not care, or will you turn toward the one who already knows every hidden detail? When loneliness pushes you towards salah, dua, reflection, and sincere conversation with Allah, the empty space begins to carry a different meaning. You stop seeing solitude only as rejection and begin recognizing it as a private place where your relationship with Allah can become stronger. Being alone also teaches you who truly belongs in your life. Difficult seasons remove the illusion created by easy days. Some people only enjoy your presence when you are cheerful, helpful, and emotionally convenient. The moment you need patience, reassurance, or real effort, they disappear. Do not ignore what their absence teaches you. You do not need to hate them, but you must stop expecting loyalty from people who repeatedly abandon you when life becomes uncomfortable. During this season, resist the urge to accept harmful company simply because silence feels painful. Loneliness can make the wrong person appear necessary. It can tempt you to return to someone who broke you, tolerate disrespect, or beg for a place in lives where you are barely valued. Remember that temporary loneliness is safer than permanent pain caused by desperate attachment. Never trade your dignity for the comfort of having someone beside you. Use this time to rebuild what you neglected while trying to keep everyone else happy. Strengthen your prayer, protect your health, rediscover your purpose, and learn how to care for your own heart without waiting for someone else to rescue you. Create routines that bring peace into your life. Read, learn, work, rest, and surround yourself with people who respect your faith and emotional boundaries. Seeking support from trustworthy family members, friends, or qualified professionals is not weakness. Islam does not teach you to suffer silently when safe help is available. The purpose of this test is not to make you believe that you need nobody. It is to teach you not to make any human being the foundation of your entire emotional life. Healthy support is a blessing, but Allah must remain your deepest source of strength. When people returned, you should love them without worshipping their presence, appreciate them without fearing their absence, and trust them without handing them complete control over your peace. One day, you may understand that the season you called abandonment was also a season of rebuilding. Allah was teaching you how to stand without begging, how to pray without being seen, and how to survive without depending on uncertain hearts. You were not forgotten. You were being taught that even when the whole world becomes quiet, Allah is still near, still listening, and still carrying you through what you thought would destroy you. 5. The test of being misunderstood despite having a pure heart. One of the most painful tests a woman can face is being misunderstood while knowing her intentions were sincere. You may speak with kindness, yet someone calls you weak. You may remain silent to prevent conflict, yet people assume you are guilty. You may walk away to protect your dignity, but they describe you as arrogant. You may give your time, loyalty, and love honestly, only to discover that others have created a completely different story about who you are. This kind of pain reaches deeply because you are not only dealing with what happened, you are also watching people judge a version of you that does not truly exist. Your natural reaction may be to explain everything. You want to show every message, reveal every sacrifice, and tell people people exactly what happened, so they finally understand your heart. You may repeatedly defend yourself, hoping the next explanation will change their opinion. But some people are not confused because you failed to explain yourself. They misunderstand you because accepting the truth would force them to examine their own behavior. No amount of evidence can satisfy someone who has already decided that you must be the problem. This test teaches you an important lesson. Not everyone deserves access to your side of the story. There are moments when clarification is necessary, especially when false accusations can harm your safety, family, reputation, marriage, work, or rights. Islam does not require you to remain silent while serious injustice spreads. You may correct the lie, seek help from trustworthy people, and protect yourself through appropriate action. But after you have spoken truthfully, do not destroy your peace, trying to control every person's opinion. Allah knows what was in your heart before you even acted. He knows whether you were trying to protect someone, prevent harm, forgive a mistake, or keep a private matter from becoming public. People judge what they can see, and sometimes they judge through jealousy, anger, incomplete information, or their own wounds. Allah sees the full picture. He knows the conversations that happened behind closed doors, the tears you hid, the chances you gave, and the pain you endured before finally choosing yourself. Being misunderstood becomes especially difficult when the wrong story comes from someone you loved. A stranger's opinion may hurt briefly, but when a trusted person changes the story, exposes your weakness, or presents themselves as the victim, the wound feels much deeper. You remember how much you protected them. You stayed quiet about what they did because you did not want to humiliate them, yet they used your silence to make themselves look innocent. In that moment, you may regret your goodness. You may wonder whether having a pure heart only made you easier to use. Do not confuse someone else's dishonesty with the failure of your character. Your sincerity was not a mistake. Their inability to honor it was their responsibility. However, a pure heart does not mean having no boundaries. You can be compassionate without allowing manipulation. You can forgive without pretending nothing happened. You can avoid revenge while still refusing to return to the same harmful situation. Purity is not blindness, and kindness is not permission for others to repeatedly disrespect you. Sometimes Allah allows people to misunderstand you so that you finally stop building your identity on human approval. As long as everyone praises you, you may never discover how much you depend on their acceptance. But when people withdraw their approval, you are forced to ask a deeper question. Do I know who I am before Allah, even when others describe me incorrectly? That is where emotional strength begins. It begins when your character is no longer controlled by applause, gossip, rejection, or false judgment. You must also be honest with yourself during this test. Having good intentions does not mean you never make mistakes. Sometimes you may believe your heart was pure while your words were still harsh, your timing was poor, or your actions caused pain you did not intend. A wise woman does not use purity as an excuse to avoid accountability. She listens when sincere people correct her. She apologizes when she is wrong. She changes harmful behavior without allowing unfair accusations to define her entire identity. There is a difference between accepting useful correction and carrying blame that does not belong to you. Learn to recognize that difference. Correction usually comes with clarity, evidence, and a desire for improvement. Manipulation comes with confusion, humiliation, shifting accusations, and pressure to take responsibility for another person's choices. A sincere person will tell you what hurt them and allow a respectful conversation. A manipulative person will keep changing the accusation until you begin doubting your own memory. Protect your mind from people who use your soft heart against you. When you are misunderstood, resist the temptation to become exactly what people accused you of being. Do not allow their cruelty to make you cruel. Do not allow false gossip to turn your tongue into a weapon. Do not reveal every secret simply because someone exposed yours. Allah may test your character by allowing you to possess information that could destroy another person's reputation. The question is whether you will use it for revenge or remain guided by justice, wisdom, and fear of Allah. Remaining dignified does not mean pretending the pain is small. Being misjudged can affect your sleep, confidence, and ability to trust. Give yourself permission to process what happened. Speak with someone mature and trustworthy. Write your thoughts, make dua, and ask Allah to remove bitterness from your heart. Healing does not require you to convince everyone. Sometimes healing begins when you stop returning mentally to conversations you cannot change. change. You may never receive the apology you deserve. The person who misunderstood you may never admit that they were wrong. Some people protect their ego by holding on to a false version of you because the truth would expose how unfairly they treated you. Do not delay your healing while waiting for their confession. Their apology would be comforting, but it is not required for Allah to restore your peace. Let time reveal what arguments cannot. Consistent character has a voice. People may believe a false story temporarily, but patterns eventually become visible. The person who repeatedly deceives, manipulates, and harms others will expose themselves through their actions. You do not need to chase them, monitor them, or pray for their destruction. Focus on living so truthfully that your life becomes stronger than the story told about you. There may also be wisdom in losing the approval of certain people. Some relationships only survive while you remain quiet, obedient, and easy to control. The moment you set a boundary, they accuse you of changing. They were comfortable with the version of you that tolerated everything. Your growth feels like betrayal to people who benefited from your lack of self-respect. Do not return to emotional imprisonment simply to prove that you are still a good woman. A good woman can say no. A faithful woman can leave a harmful environment. A kind woman can protect her privacy. A patient woman can reach a limit. A forgiving woman can refuse another chance when the same harm keeps returning. Your softness should remain connected to wisdom, not fear. Allah did not give you dignity so you could repeatedly sacrifice it to keep others comfortable. This test becomes lighter when you understand that people's opinions are unstable. The same person who praises you today may misunderstand you tomorrow. The person who criticizes you may later need the very strength they mocked. Human approval changes with emotion, benefit, and circumstance. If your peace depends on everyone seeing you correctly, you will spend your entire life emotionally exhausted. Anchor yourself in something stronger. Ask yourself whether Allah is pleased with your intentions, whether your choices are honest, and whether you have corrected what needed correction. Once you have done that, release the rest. You cannot enter every mind and remove every false belief. You cannot force people to recognize your sincerity, but you can protect your conduct, guard your tongue, and remain the same person when nobody is defending you. The test of being misunderstood is not meant to silence your voice forever. It is meant to teach you when to speak, when to step back, and when to leave judgment with Allah. Speak when truth and safety require it. Stay silent when arguing will only feed chaos. Walk away when someone repeatedly twists your words and refuses honest conversation. Wisdom is not always proving your innocence. Sometimes it is knowing that your peace is more valuable than winning an argument. Dear sister, being misunderstood does not reduce your worth. A false story cannot change what Allah knows about you. People may question your heart, but Allah sees it completely. They may forget your sacrifices, but Allah records them. They may judge your silence, but Allah knows what you were protecting. Continue improving yourself, remain accountable, and refuse to become bitter. One day, you may realize that this painful test freed you from the exhausting need to be understood by everyone. You learned that peace does not come when every person agrees with your story. Peace comes when your heart knows the truth, your conscience is clear, and your relationship with Allah remains stronger than the noise surrounding your name. 6. The test of watching your most desired door close. One of the most painful tests is watching the door you prayed for, prepared for, and deeply believed would open suddenly close in front of you. It may be the marriage you imagined, the person you hoped would choose you, the job you worked hard to receive, the pregnancy you waited for, the opportunity that seemed perfect, or the future you had already begun living inside your mind. You did not desire it casually. You carried it in your heart, mentioned it in your dua, and convinced yourself that receiving it would finally make everything feel right. Then, despite all your effort and hope, the answer becomes no. This kind of disappointment does not only take away an opportunity, it can take away the version of life you had emotionally attached yourself to. You begin grieving conversations that will never happen, places you may never go, and memories that will never be created. The pain becomes heavier because nothing physical may have existed yet, but inside your heart, an entire future has collapsed. People may tell you to move on because they cannot see what you lost. They only see a closed door while you are mourning the life you imagined behind it. You may ask Allah why He allowed your heart to desire something so strongly if it was never going to become yours. You may wonder why He brought the opportunity close enough for you to see it before removing it. You may compare yourself with women who received what you wanted and begin questioning whether you were forgotten. You prayed sincerely, tried to remain patient, and did everything you believed was right, yet the outcome still wounded you. This is where the real test begins, because trusting Allah is easy when His plan agrees with yours. Faith becomes deeper when He closes the door you were certain He would open. A closed door does not always mean you were unworthy. Sometimes you were fully capable, but the path itself was not safe for your faith, peace, or future. Sometimes what you wanted was good, but it was not good for you in that form, at that time, or with those people. You could see the beginning, but Allah knew where it would eventually lead. You saw beauty in the invitation, while He saw pain hidden behind the entrance. You saw a person you wanted to keep, while Allah knew the version of them you had not yet discovered. You saw an opportunity that looked like success, while He knew what it might demand from your soul. This is especially painful when the closed door involves a person. You may have believed that this relationship would end in marriage. You interpreted their attention as certainty, their promises as commitment, and your emotional connection as proof that you were meant to remain together. When the relationship ends, you may feel as though Allah took away the only person who could understand you. But love alone does not make every connection safe, lawful, healthy, or written for your future. A person can make you feel deeply and still be unable to give you peace, honesty, consistency, and a halal commitment. Do not spend years standing outside a door Allah has allowed to close, knocking until your hands bleed and calling persistence faith. Sometimes acceptance is the act of faith being required from you. You may keep begging for the same person because you fear starting again, not because the connection is truly good. You may be attached to the dream of who they could become rather than accepting who they repeatedly reveal themselves to be. When someone consistently brings confusion, disrespect, secrecy, or emotional instability into your life, losing them may hurt, but keeping them could have cost you far more. A closed door can also expose how much of your identity you placed inside one outcome. Perhaps you believed marriage would prove that you were lovable. You believed motherhood would make your life meaningful. You believed a career opportunity would finally make people respect you. You believed one person's acceptance would erase years of insecurity. When that door closes, the pain may reveal that you were asking the opportunity to give you something only Allah and inner healing could provide. No relationship, title, achievement, or blessing can permanently repair a heart that does not know its worth before Allah. This does not mean you should stop wanting beautiful things. Islam does not teach you to become emotionless or pretend disappointment does not hurt. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to cry over the future you hoped for. You may need time to accept that your plans have changed. But grief should not become rebellion against Allah, and disappointment should not convince you that your life has lost all value. A door can close without your entire future closing with it. Be careful during this test, because desperation can make you force what Allah is removing. You may begin compromising your values, lowering your standards, or accepting humiliation just to keep the possibility alive. You may send another message after someone has clearly rejected